Hi there, I'm Sylvia Moonbeam. I am literally, as we are speaking, beginning my drive home. So I apologize in advance if my audio is difficult to hear. I am speaking with my teacher voice. Um, but you know, my microphone is about 2 feet away from my face, and I'm not going to be looking directly at the camera a lot. So you're going to see a lot of me doing this kind of thing because I'm driving. So why am I making this video? Well, part of it is because I am on my way home from Walmart. Woo, hello. Guy almost cut me off. Um, part of it was I just wanted to talk about some stuff just because it's kind of fun. But part of it, sunlight, was because I don't know, I didn't want to listen to music and I instead wanted to talk to you all. So I have two topics I want to talk about. Both of them are related to a fairly, up and up character in Transformers recently, Elita-1. I actually picked up 2 Elita-1 figures today. The Studio Series Elita-1 for Transformers 1, and as you saw, the Cyber World, yes, the Cyber World, like 3-step changer. So I want to talk a little bit about Elita-1 and how she doesn't have a consistent form, which is fine. It's fine, and I actually really like that. And 2, the topic I'm going to talk about first is going to be the seasons of Transformers female characters. Because whenever we talk about the Beast era, it's basically always just Air Razor and Black Arachnia. There are no other girls in Transformers for the Beast era. JK, there are, but when it's anything Beast related, it's always Air Razor and Black Arachnia. But when we're talking about G1 era stuff, obviously we can't not talk about RC. RC has been around since the Transformers, the movie, and she's been a pretty good mainstay of Transformers content. Usually getting portrayed as the girl who kicks butt, and typically turning into like some kind of coupe car. For example, in Earthspark, she was like quite literally just like a coupe, or a motorcycle. Of course, there's also Strong Arm. Strong Arm is relatively minor, because she's actually only really been in Robots in Disguise and the recent IDW comics. But she usually turns into some kind of like a police SUV. She's arguably the one good cop. And I really like Strong Arm. I actually really wish Transformers would do more with Strong Arm, because she's a really interesting character. And I think, especially with the direction the comics are going with, went with Prowl, she's a good play off of Prowl. Because like Prowl very much goes into that like police, it's like security state paranoia bad cop, as opposed to Strong Arm, who is like very textbook and like by the book investigation, very like honest, trustworthy, good teammate. So like Prowl is very much becoming the bad cop character, while Strong Arm is becoming the good cop, and the fact that they're both Autobots is really cool. Anyway, I'm getting way off topic here. Of course, we have Windblade. Windblade has been in a bunch of stuff, but basically doesn't really exist in a lot of more modern... Doesn't really exist in a lot of modern Transformers stuff. She was in RID 2015, but after that, hasn't really appeared in anything. She hasn't been in Earthspark. She hasn't been in Cyber World. Hasn't been in any of the movies. She did get a recent figure, which was then repainted Arachnid / Miner retooled into Slipstream, and I love that Windblade, and I love that Slipstream. They're both phenomenal figures. But yeah, the Windblade doesn't really get used that much anymore. She had her time in the sun, or time to shine, hasn't really shown up since. Which brings us to Elita-1. Elita-1 has been, like, the main girl recently. Like, our RC does get some stuff still. Like I said, she did show up in Earthspark. She actually did show up in the Rise of the Beast movie, as well as, but she actually did show up briefly. She didn't get named in Transformers 1, but she was a character, and, like, she is very obviously RC. Yeah, heck, even Chromia. Chromia got a shout out in Transformers 1. That's kind of cool. And for the record, I count Arachnid as basically kind of a parallel to Black Arachnia. So if you're like, oh, they haven't used Black Arachnia recently. Yeah, no, they have. Arachnid and Black Arachnia are basically the same character. Unless they show up both together on the same screen, or are referenced as being separate characters in the same continuity. To me, they are the same character. You cannot convince me otherwise. They just decided to give Black Arachnia like a weird helicopter mode and change her name in some continuities. Anyway, Elita-1. Elita-1, for those who aren't familiar, was originally introduced in the Generation 1 cartoon as basically Optimus Prime's long-lost girlfriend. She was originally named Ariel, and then Optimus Ryan Pax and Ariel basically died, and Alpha Trion rebuilt them into Optimus Prime and Elita-1 respectively. And this is great. We like this. This is fun. But they didn't really do a lot with her. In the Gen 1 cartoon, she mostly just kind of exists to be like, look, girl Transformers exist. And she is in charge of, like, a small team of other female Transformers. You can call them whatever you want. I personally like calling them the Valkyries. Elita-1 in the Power of the Primes line got a really cool figure that was, I guess, technically a retool / pre-tool, depending on how you look at it, of Starscream, which was a really cool VTOL jet. I've shown that figure multiple times in some of my videos. Okay, go ahead, dude. This guy's making a U-turn just in the middle of a 2-lane street. What an idiot. And she got a combiner, either Orthia or Elita Infinite, depending on who makes up the combination. And that was a lot of love. That was a lot of love for Elita-1. I've actually made a theory. I think I've technically made the theory twice now about how I believed Elita-1 was originally going to be kind of implied to become a new Prime. Like, if Optimus Prime died, or if Rodimus Prime died, that Elita-1 would be the next Prime to succeed Rodimus Prime, which I still think this is the direction they wanted to go, and they just chickened out and didn't pull the trigger on it, because, I don't know, Hashtag needs to take some risks. And by take some risks, I don't mean release a $500 figure of Unicron. That does not count as a risk. I guess it is technically. It's a financial risk. It's not like an actual risk. So, what do I mean by this? Well, in Transformers 1, Elita gets a new vehicle. And, archetype-wise, she is a motorcycle. This isn't anything crazy. After all, Bumblebee was the car, Optimus was the truck, D16 / Megatron is the tank. There are not a lot of ground vehicles you can really go with besides truck car, and tank besides motorcycle. And they wanted to give all 4 of them separate modes. And I think that's completely valid to want to give all 4 of them separate modes. So obviously, Elita-1 became a motorcycle. And I realized the Transformers 1 figure of Elita-1 is kind of just meh. I picked it up because I really wanted her, as the figure, because I really like Elita-1 as a character. And I will probably do an actual proper video showing her off with my other Elita-1s very soon. But we also, she has an inconsistent mode, but I actually think that's working in her favor, because like RC is basically always either just a coupe or a motorcycle. Strong Arm is just a police car. Black Arachne is always just a spider / helicopter spider if she's, arachnid. Slipstream is always just a jet. But Elita-1 has some fluidity to her. She is kind of a sports car coupe type thing in Generation 1, like with her, I think it was Legacy figure. If it was either Legacy or Legacy United, doesn't really matter. Power of the Primes, like I said, made her kind of a cool space jet that also was kind of implied to be a VTOL. Transformers 1 made her effectively not really a super bike, but basically a pumped up motorcycle. They were like, nah, she's not going to be just a normal motorcycle. She's going to be a cool motorcycle, an alien motorcycle. It's like, sure, whatever. And then most recently, they're doing something really unique with Cyber World. They made her a boat. They made her a boat. I know you can't see that. There we go. They made her a boat, which is freaking cool, because there are not a lot of aquatic Transformers. We've got Sea Spray, and God, I love Sea Spray. Sea Spray's great. We've got, Tidal Wave. We have the Transformers Energon version of Omega Supreme. We have, what is her name? The one from Cybertron, Galaxy Force, who's obsessed with Megatron. I can't remember what her name is. Ironically, that girl, the girl who's obsessed with Megatron, she actually, ironically, got repainted / remolded minorly into, I think, either an RC or Elita-1 figure. So, if anything, this thing is an homage to that, but we don't have a lot of aquatic Transformers. So, if anything, the fact that we are getting Elita-1 as a boat, an Elita-1 who turns into a boat, is really unique, because it is the first time in a long time we have gotten a boat Transformer. So I'm very excited about this. I do really wish we could get like a flippin' submarine, because it would be great if we could get a submarine. Oh, Broadside. Broadside also turns into a boat. Love boat / aquatic Transformers. We need more of them. So my point of all this is, obviously there are multiple seasons where Hasbro / Takara / the writers really want certain characters to get the spotlight. And right now, Elita-1 is in that spotlight, which is amazing for her. But also, apparently, they don't know jack shit what to do with her, because they keep giving her new alt modes. And that makes her very experimental right now. Megatron's always going to be a tank. And if he's not a tank, he's a jet with a cannon, which is basically just a flying tank. Soundwave is now basically just either a stealth bomber or some kind of armored van, surveillance vehicle kind of thing. Shockwave is basically always just like a spider tank. I'm home, by the way. I'm in my parking spot, in case you're wondering why I picked up the phone. Yeah, Shockwave is basically always just a spider tank / occasionally a flying gun, because they're like, oh, he's a jet. He's a gun with wings. But yeah, Elita-1, they're doing interesting stuff with. She is the flavor of the month. Hasbro really wants to do cool stuff with Elita-1. And that stuff is just, let's give her all of the alt modes and hope something sticks. Will she be a jet? Who knows? Will she be a car? Probably. That's the Gen 1 design they gave her, even though she only showed up in like one episode. But motorcycle, meh, kind of overlapping a little bit with RC's shtick. You don't want RC and Elita-1 to have too much overlap, because that's just how you confuse people. They're already pink and white. I know RC is predominantly white with some pink, and Elita is like a kind of salmony pink with some white. So, but still, they're already female Autobots with very similar color schemes. You don't want to confuse people. We already have people thinking that Bumper is just Bumblebee. We already have people thinking that Cliff Jumper is just Red Bumblebee. We don't need to confuse people. So, Elita-1 turning into a boat makes me very excited, because that sounds a lot like the same kind of thing they were doing when they gave us the Power of the Primes, like Voyager-sized Elita-1. So, let me go inside. Let me change into some more comfortable clothes, because I'm still in my work clothes. And let me rip open some cardboard so I can show you all. This is very exciting. All right, anyway, I've wasted like 17 minutes of your life. Hopefully you enjoyed this rambling about girl robots.